When I was younger, my parents worked in big cities and did not return home all year, so I lived in a village with my grandmother and grandfather. They loved and spoiled me so much that I became obstinate. I often went out with two naughty boys who were in the same class as me at the time. Once they asked me to use our PE class to run into the forest and collect bird eggs. One of them climbed a tree in search of a bird's nest, while the rest of us waited below. After climbing the tree, he looked straight in one direction and kept staring. The other guy and I were waiting below, impatiently, so we urged them. "What are you doing for so long? We're getting impatient." He pointed to one direction and said, "I see someone hiding a treasure." Upon hearing this, the other boy and I ran up to another tree and climbed on it. I looked in the direction he indicated, and as expected, a woman burying a beautiful decorated box in a hole. The woman then covered the hole, knelt a few times to beg, and left. After the woman had gone, we went down from the trees to discuss what we were going to do. The boy in the green shirt proposed his idea, and the three of us agreed wholeheartedly. Because people in the village were unfamiliar with this type of burial, even cremation was uncommon. We had no idea what kind of box it was. That was all we could think of as we began digging up the box. The box was soon revealed. It was made of wood, carved with flowers all round and draped in a red cloth. The green shirt guy picked up the box and discovered it to be quite heavy. We were so excited that we ran all the way home with the box in our hands. My grandparents had to work all day, so the house was empty when the three of us entered. We were very excited to open the box and see what was inside. As soon as I opened the red cloth, I heard a shout from outside. It was our teacher's voice. The three of us were terrified and hastily hid the box under my bed. We climbed the backyard wall along the window, hoping to sneak out while the teacher knocked on the front door. As a result, when I poked my head out of the wall, I saw the PE teacher waiting for us beneath the wall. After being apprehended by the teacher, we were requested to invite our parents. I was chastised by my teacher all afternoon, and my grandfather picked me up at night. During dinner, I felt it was very cold in the house. After eating 2 small portions of rice, I got a headache and went to bed. That night I had a dream, or rather, a nightmare. A nightmare in which I was standing in the dark. A large house was not far away. I was so scared that all I wanted to do was get out of here as soon as possible. At this point, my friend who was in the green shirt walked right past me. With no soul eyes, he walked straight to the big house. I grabbed him and told him, "It's dangerous where you're going." But it didn't seem to work. He suddenly became very strong and shoved my hand away, and I couldn't imagine from where he got his strength. I followed him as he continued walking towards the house. As I approached, I noticed that there was no door and that the house was carved on all sides. He climbed on the carved flowers. He looked so horrifying, as if he was some kind of animal. He climbed to the top and then vanished. What the hell was going on? When I saw that, I dashed after him to catch up with him. When I got to the top, I looked down but couldn't see the bottom because it was pitch black. I looked down at the ground, feeling extremely insecure. Right at this moment, I felt like there was a hand behind me, pushing me. I screamed in terror as I fell completely into the abyss. I screamed and sat up only to realize that everything had been a nightmare. I was sweating profusely, feeling cold and dizzy. It was nearly 4 a.m. and it was still dark. I couldn't sleep any longer, so I hugged my pillow and knocked on my grandparents' room door. When my grandparents discovered that I had a fever, they gave me fever-reducing medicine and wrapped me in a blanket. I quickly fell asleep as a result of the drug's effect. I opened my eyes in a dream and saw that large house not far away. I was afraid, so I tried to turn around and run. As I was running, a figure darted past me like the wind. I took a closer look, and it was the boy in the green shirt, and I was not sure what he was doing here again. Then, as soon as I turned my head, the wall with the carvings appeared in front of me. The boy in the green shirt began climbing unconsciously as if he were being controlled like the last time. I looked up higher and there was a figure crawling on the wall. It was the other guy who had been waiting with me under the tree. I gritted my teeth and climbed up, even though I had no idea what I was doing. Just like the last time, there was an abyss on the other side of the wall, and I was not sure who pushed me down. But this time was different. I didn't regain consciousness and quickly collapsed. I smelled burning straw and looked around. The front and back were both dark, and the walls were grey. Not far away, I noticed two figures lying on the ground. They were my two friends. I quickly crawled to the green shirt guy and flipped him over. There was no facial contour on his face, only a large mass of flesh protruding in the middle with a large slit. I immediately broke out in a cold sweat, wondering what the hell this was. The large slit suddenly opened, revealing a massive eye. I was terrified. How did he become that way? I didn't dare to look at him, so I quickly turned my head, only to discover that the surrounding walls were all covered in big and small red eyes. And where I fell, now on the ceiling, were round eyes, each one staring at me fiercely. I rolled my eyes and fainted because everything happened all of a sudden. When I opened my eyes again, I was in the hospital with my grandparents looking at me with concern. But I didn't have the strength to ask for help. My throat was dry and I couldn't speak. I fell asleep again and couldn't wake up after a few seconds. This time when I opened my eyes, I was in the place full of eyes and my two friends had vanished. I was shivering in fear and losing my mind when I smelled the scent. I followed it and saw an open door. I crawled and rolled towards the door as if pleading for something. From behind, I heard a crackling sound and the floor became extremely hot. I didn't dare to look back. Instead, closing my eyes and running straight towards the door in a state of panic. I finally woke up when I stepped outside. I opened my eyes to find myself back at home lying in bed. The house was filled with incense smoke, and an old man dressed as a shaman was holding a bunch of incense around me while reading something. After I recovered from my illness, my grandfather informed me that the box my friend and I dug up was a forbidden item belonging to someone else. My grandfather knew something was wrong when he took me to the hospital for treatment, so he invited the village shaman to come and see. He noticed something filthy in the house right away and discovered the box under the bed. After asking my two friends for directions to the location where we dug the treasure up, the shaman and my grandmother and grandfather buried the box once more and begged forgiveness. I was finally awake and healthy after the shaman blessed my house all day long. I'd become more obedient since then, because every time I wanted to be naughty, I imagined those eyes staring at me in that very nightmare.